It's interesting because to me, inclusion and exclusion go hand in hand. Um, there's probably not going to be a place where every single person on the planet is going to feel comfortable. That's okay. A lot of times, you know, we learn who we are and how to express who we are through differentiating ourselves from something that we encounter. I'm not saying that every single person should feel comfortable in a specific company, but every person who's supposed to be at that company should feel comfortable. And what I mean by that is when we can really connect to who we are, we're going to know what feels good for us and what doesn't. And it's okay that different things feel good for different people. What's not okay is when there's this pretense that everyone is air quotes included, and yet there are very clear uh, statements, actions, behaviors, and just overall policies that make it clear that we're not all seen as being in the same boat together, so to speak. So I'd like to just take a step back and look at where our DEI conversation is right now. And right now, where I see it is in its early stages. Like people are just finally, thank goodness, starting to get a voice to say, this isn't okay for me. This hurts. This has hurt me. This has hurt my family. This has hurt countless other people. We need to do something different. And I think that's beautiful. It needs to be said. Certain things need to be deconstructed. And at the same time, that's an early stage conversation. And there are things in later stages that also need to be discussed, which is, okay, we've decided that the way things are right now is not okay. What exactly do we want? Which is different from what do we think we need to fix? When we really start to enter into a space of what do we want, we'll understand that we probably don't want every single person to be in the same room because we know not everyone is going to feel comfortable with everything that everyone else does. There's always going to be some differentiation. There's always going to be some distinction. But rather, we want to just be able to find the places that feel really good for us. And even if it doesn't feel good for us to be able to live and let live. Okay, that's not for me, but I can still respect and be kind to you even though we're different. But unfortunately, what we have are a lot of I'd say early stage conversations without those later stage conversations to really bring in what we truly want. So it starts to feel very uncomfortable to be in a conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I say uncomfortable not just for the people are who are stating their grievances, but also or who are on the receiving end of those grievances being shared, but also for the people that are stating them, because we're trying to get our voices out, we're trying to express our pain or whatever it might be, but there's no later stage elders in the room to say this is how we get to what we truly want. And then the conversation just becomes something that people want to bury. They want to talk around. Okay, we have this little initiative in place, but it really doesn't do anything. We have these policies in place to hire in a certain way, but it's not really addressing the driver of a lack of inclusion. The drivers are always people's attitudes and perceptions. And those don't change unless we can really truly have honest conversations. And how can we have honest conversations if there's always someone who's angry and someone who's getting the blame? There has to be a point where we can transcend that to actually start to come together to say, what do we all want? And, or, what really actually truly makes me as an individual feel like I belong? Oddly enough, the answer will never be in any company culture or in any workplace. It's always going to start within ourselves first. And when we feel like we belong within ourselves, we will naturally gravitate to the places where we belong externally. So it's a completely different conversation and it's a completely different process, but it's later. It's not the early stage of grieving and mourning and anger, which absolutely is correct and we must go through it. If we don't go through that early stage, we can't get to the later stages. But I see a lot of looping around these early stages and not enough late stage conversations where we all actually start to get to the truth of what we're trying to create for ourselves and for each other.